Okay, so if you're listening to this, it will be because you donated to the Ariella Kickstarter. So I just want to start this off by saying a massive thank you. It's been a really long time coming, us getting around to do all this and get all the prizes and rewards out to you all. But yeah, thank you so much. This is an audio commentary for the short film that I made before Ariella. Which is the project that I think made Ryan, the producer, come and join on and work with me and my brother Jack to make Ariella. So there's a special place in my heart for this project, to be honest. A lot of blood, sweat and tears went into it. But yeah, I'm going to tell you all about it. So I'm going to press play. I'm just going to talk as we go. So, yeah. So in terms of how this project came about, I wrote this project. It's one of the first scripts I ever wrote. Like I was about 13, 14 when I first wrote it. Very, very different to what it is now. Very different. And it was by the time I actually got around to making it. It was 2016. I was in my final year of university, so this is actually technically a student film. And I was scrambling for ideas, and then I sort of like looked back on some of my older scripts, and I found this, and then I did a bit of a reworking. There were some pretty big cliches in there that I didn't want to keep in, so I got rid of them, and then you just started putting it together really. Gemma Rowe produced it. She's always been incredibly supportive of this project. I think she always really enjoyed the script, and I think what I always love about Gemma is that she just sort of believed in my vision from the get-go. I think even people that watched the final film and people that read the script kind of didn't necessarily understand the whole thing. It is quite abstract, obviously, but I think she just had a lot of faith in my vision, and based on the sheer amount of pre-production and development work I did, I think she just sort of looked at all that and went, okay, yeah, I want to make this with you. So she's always been incredibly supportive, and I just want to make this an official shout out to Gemma Rowe. I won't lie, there's an element of watching this back, and it's funny watching the whole finished thing and being, I'm happy with it, but I won't lie to you that it was a real scramble along the way trying to get it to this point. There was a lot that I didn't quite understand about it myself at the time, I think, and it's a film that I watch back now, and certain things about it kind of make more sense to me now. And I think I can kind of attribute and correlate that with how I was feeling at the time. I think it's a film about loneliness and boredom, really. I was bored, and I didn't have a lot going on at the time, and it's quite meta in that way. I've kind of figured out over the years that it's a film partially about me not being able to come up with ideas for films. I was sort of really hitting a big creative wall at the time, and I was sort of living in quite a monotonous cycle, I think, where I wasn't really getting a huge amount of enjoyment out of life at the time. But this really sparked things up for me. It made things a lot more exciting, and I think it kind of allowed me to really reflect on myself a lot more. This montage here of the constant cycle where it speeds up and up is, yeah, a reflection of that time as well. Really, actually, kind of the idea of this came to me during editing. I didn't really have the intention to do this much on the day. I knew I wanted to show this guy's daily cycle, but to have it on like a really fast zoetrope style like speeding round. That only came to me while editing. Guy Evans is the actor who plays the title role of Man. I'd worked with Guy once. I was I was a production assistant on a actor's showreel shoot, and he was there to help. And I remember just sort of being kind of hit by his he looked perfect for the role, and he had a real sort of sensibility about him that I really enjoyed. And he taught me a lot about directing actors, actually. I must say, I was very young at the time. I think I was like 20, 21 when I made this, and as a lot of young directors are, I was quite scared about directing actors. I was quite intimidated by the whole process, and he actually gave me a book called Directing Actors, which I still read from time to time. It's been very useful, but I think he taught me a lot about not trying to direct, every single minute movement that an actor makes, and sort of have a bit more trust and control, and to just trust the actor, and sort of like just understand that I've hired you to do your job, and this is the way you want to do things. And I mean, even now, looking at him now, when we start to see his doppelganger, he had a very distinct and clear idea about how he wanted to play those two characters. And I think what he basically said was, don't try and over direct me, because otherwise it's just going to become too confusing. And I've taken that lesson a lot and used it in my project since, really. Just had a lot more trust for actors, and be comfortable in not knowing how to do everything as well, and not having all the answers. This scene was really special, the alleyway scene. This was the last thing we shot of the whole thing. Francois, who plays the homeless man, actually wrote this poem himself. I knew he's a rapper, and he'd never acted before. This is his first time acting. And I remember he came to the rehearsals, just me, Guy, and Francois, and he just did it. I honestly didn't have to direct him at all. So full credit goes to Francois here, and I think it really just became our job to just capture him and just shoot what he was doing, because I just didn't want to. He really got into the role, and I didn't want to put him off course at all. It was a really cold night. We really wanted to get home at that point, but I think as soon as Francois started, we all kind of perked up a bit and sort of went, okay, we've got something special here. But yeah, Carl Poyser shot this. He's the DOP on this, and I don't know, I think he did such an amazing job, and I watched the films and the projects that I made before this, and this film really represents a step up for me. I really sort of like went, okay, this film needs to look cinematic, and I think I'd seen Carl's work. I think I'd worked as a runner on set where Carl was a DOP, and I knew that I wanted him, so we shot this on the Arri Alexa Mini. But all the films I'd shot before were on, like Canon 500Ds and, cameras that I could get my hands on at uni. And, being able to work with Carl and go, okay, I want to shoot this scene in a 90 degree shutter angle and stuff like that. And, and just sort of like capture what happens. It was just really liberating, and a big step up for me, something that I really enjoyed. In the original cut as well, there was a lot more experimentation when it came to the scenes where the doppelganger and man interact with each other. There was a lot more. But I think I wanted to keep it, I wanted to simplify it. That being said as well, some of the experiments that I did with merging those two into the scenes. Some of them just literally didn't work. There's some green screen scenes and sort of visual effects I tried using, but the cut that you see now is a lot more stripped back and a lot more simplified. I think this is the real turning point in the film. I think the homeless man represents... I'll have to try and remember all this now. It's been a long time, but the homeless man represents, living a life not where you're not sort of so imprisoned by social sort of like conduct, and all these office workers here kind of represent that as well. There's what I wanted to sort of imply was that there are other versions of all these people, other versions of themselves that didn't choose this sort of materialistic life and chose a more liberated yet flawed and painful life, but ultimately free. So in this universe I kind of wanted to insinuate that these people made a choice, and that's kind of what what man here is kind of going through. And this sort of like middle quarter kind of represents that. And this is, I guess, the start of the process where he's starting to really kind of like try and decide. I think this is the moment where a lot of people, it kind of clicked for them that was the case, that there was more to meets the eye than it just being a doppelganger type thing. And I think like I really struggled to sort of understand that meaning as well for a long time, but it makes sense to me now, even though I can't necessarily vocalize it at all points. We see a sort of switch in him now. He's more confident. He's become the doppelganger. He's chosen. He doesn't want to be the man that he was before. This editing that I did, where we have flashes of him, what he was before, and the homeless man, kind of was an idea that I had during the editing process as well. What's interesting about this film, watching back, is that it was a very different film at the beginning. Like the edit really transformed the whole thing. The editing process was a big problem-solving process. I'm not going to lie. I think I was very inexperienced, and I had to sort of figure out. I had sort of like the third or the last rewrite of the script kind of really happened in the post-production process. So yeah, it's funny. It's funny watching it back, but I'm ultimately a lot happier with it now. I think it's got a lot more rhythm and it's more meaningful, and I kind of found that meaning during that process as well. Again, big shout out to Francois Jamil Samuel for playing that role of the homeless man. He did such an amazing job. And big shout out to the crew as well. I've worked with these guys a lot more over the years, and I think this is where the real starting point of working with these guys. Luke Bradley is the production designer. He did such an amazing job of creating all the props at the beginning of the film. You see all the microwave meals and the office decor, all done for very cheap but very effectively. He really helped me out. Katie Jane Ford, again, did an amazing job with Francois' makeup. And I think, like, yeah, looking at the crew, looking at the credits here, it's sort of, yeah, it's amazing. It's sort of, it's a whole camera crew, and all these people were had roles and responsibilities that I didn't even know about. At that point I had no idea what their job was, and I was shy. I was very shy when shooting, and I had to sort of really build my confidence over the course of the 2 days. But yeah, watching it now, and yeah, I've learned a hell of a lot, I must say. But yeah, I really hope you enjoyed it. it represents a time in my life that I look back on quite fondly now. It was a painful process a lot of the time when making it, but ultimately I look back at it now and I'm really happy. So thank you to everyone that was involved with making that. It was ultimately the stepping stone to me making Ariella and then going on to make other projects. So yeah, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and thank you again for donating to the Ariella Kickstarter. Really, really appreciate it.